One of the biggest mistakes that couples make when they get married. But when I met Kim, I didn't want to be like my mom and dad. Dad was a school teacher, mom was a nurse. But skills, you have to have skills. And I hated it. I hated selling. But for 4 years I struggled and I had to stay there until I became number one. I'll sell it, I turn it to this. That's the secret.
Something that I thought was really impactful that I've not heard you explain. You said that you and Kim retired in 10 years. Can you go over the story of how you did that and what your plan was?
One of the biggest mistakes that people or couples make when they get married, I don't care if, boy marrying boy or girl marrying girl or tranny versus tranny, it's not none of my business. But let's say you get into a committed relationship. A lot of times people don't have what they call financial goals. They want to get rich, I want a safe, secure job. But when I met Kim, I didn't want to be like my mom and dad. And they worked hard all their lives because they're good, hardworking, highly educated, poor people. Dad was a school teacher, mom was a nurse. Kim's father was a printer. He worked for a newspaper. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom, but they worked all their lives. When I met Kim, I went, let's not do that. Let's set a goal to retire in 10 years. So when we got married, we had a goal to get married in 10 years. Now, the thing about it is this, it's more than just a goal, it's how. And as I've said in many of my other videos, is that what makes you rich is not money, but skills. You have to have skills. So when I left the Marine Corps, where I was a pilot and I flew, my wings here. To be a pilot, you have to fly. So to be an entrepreneur, you have to sell. So as I was getting out of the Marine Corps, my rich dad says, you, number one, have to learn how to sell. So I left the Marine Corps, I got a job at Xerox. And I hated it. I hated selling. But for 4 years, I struggled, and I had to stay there until I became number one. So every day I practiced selling. At night, I would go and dial for dollars at a nonprofit, dialing for dollars. I was always practicing selling, raising money. Number one skill of an entrepreneur. The reason so many people are poor is they can't raise money. Fucking obvious, isn't it? They can get a credit card, but they can't raise $1 million. So if you can't raise $1 million, you don't have the skills. The second thing is your education. And so the way Kim and I were going to do it, because I was already practicing it, as my rich dad said, you have to understand real estate. Because real estate is the basis of wealth. And it's not so much real estate, it's debt. So when I was getting this before I met Kim, when I was getting out of the Marine Corps, I was like 26 years old, I had to take real estate courses to learn how to raise money and use debt. So I go to a banker and I borrow money. So the reason Kim and I could retire in 10 years was even before that, I'd already listened to my rich dad about, can I sell, which I could, can I raise capital, which I could, and can I raise debt to buy real estate, which I could. So Kim and I just bought real estate. The average person cannot go out there and buy it. They don't have the skill set. So let me say it again, it's skills and practice and experience and education that make you rich, not your college education. So when Kim and I said we're going to set a goal to be rich in 10 years, that's how we did. So we did it through apartment houses. And when the markets crashed, it was good because when markets crash, everything goes on sale. And Kim and I had strong financial statements, which the cash flow game, so we played the cash flow game, teaches you a financial statement. Your financial statement is your report card when you go in to see your banker. We walked in with our financial statements and said, we want to borrow $300 million. And the banker said, yes, because our financial statement said we knew what we were talking about. Your financial statement is your report card when you leave school. But the average person, even college graduates, have no idea what a financial statement is. So they can't raise money. So what made Kim and I rich was our past skills and knowing that we're real estate, we're not 401k. We weren't going to inherit money because our parents were poor. And we're going to do it through real estate and debt. So I make it sound simple, but it was pretty much premeditated, from leaving the Marine Corps where I could fly. And by the way, these last two crashes, the Army Black Hawk hitting the airliner, typical Army pilot. I hate to say that, but it's, Marine pilots are different than Army pilots. I don't think you guys know that. And the reason, in my opinion, I could be wrong, there was a crash over the Potomac between an Army Black Hawk and all this, is because pilots for airlines are on IFR, instrument flight rules. So they're on their gauges looking at their instruments. Army guys are not trained IFR. Army guys are trained VFR, visual flight rules. So I'm listening to the traffic, and I could be wrong. The Army helicopter was on VFR, visual flight rules. The airline was on IFR, and the language and everything is completely different. You can hear it. So the Army pilot said, Roger, got We call them, we got bogey in sight. It means we had the aircraft. The Army pilot had the wrong aircraft in sight. He didn't see the one he hit because he was VFR, where the airline pilots are IFR. And so those subtle differences, again, it's skills and experience and training, education, that make the difference. It makes a difference. So when I was in flight school in Florida, Pensacola, the Army flight school was right around the corner from us at Fort Rucker, Alabama. So Florida and Alabama are next to each other. And we always said, stay away from highways and railroad tracks, because Army pilots flew along the highways and railroad tracks where Navy and Marine pilots flew IFR. The rules are different. So I'm not sure, and it's a terrible thing, so many people lost their lives. But when I was listening to the traffic, as it replayed the whole thing, Army, VFR, airlines, IFR, boom. So again, it goes back to training, education, and experience. So I don't know, I'm going with all of that, but that's how, what you learn is crucial and gives you a head start in life. So Kim and I could retire in 10 years because we planned on it, starting with education, experience, what we learned. I had to learn how to use debt. I had to learn how to raise capital. So every year I'm raising capital. So when Kenny McElroy just called, he said, I need 100K, I go, done. I don't know where I'm going to get the money, but I know I can raise it. And I have a foundation of money. I have gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And my job is to take gold, silver, Bitcoin, convert it to cash. So I take gold and silver and Bitcoin. I'll sell it. I turn it to this, and it turns it into cash flow. That's how the rich get richer. That's the secret. It's not your college education. What is artificial intelligence? It's a college degree.
Was there anything that you and Kim had to sacrifice when you guys set this plan to retire in 10 years?
Why is there a sacrifice? What was there to sacrifice? I mean, why would you ask that question? I want to know what
So
I don't sacrifice anything. It's not part of my vocabulary. I just go get what I want. So there's no sacrifice. You know what I mean? It's what I had to do was study, take classes, learn. We don't get to hang out with our goofy friends who are just watching YouTube or whatever they're watching. You choose your friends. Tim and I became really good friends. Tom Wheelwright, my advisors. Your friends change. And I don't hang out with lazy people. I don't hang out with people on welfare. I mean, if they want welfare, it's up to you. I don't want it. Just leave me alone. I want my independence. So anybody who's going to be woke and go broke and we're victims, this is Black Lives Matter. I've experienced racial discrimination too. I understand, but I don't let it get to me. And that's the reason I don't like Black Lives Matter is because they're victims. Well, slavery's been over for a long time, except you still go to school and learn to be a paid slave. That's your problem, not mine. So it's a choice, You can say, you're a racist. Well, if you're a Black Lives Matter person, you're just as much a racist as I am. I mean, if you don't like white guys, you're a racist too. So that's why I sit there and I crack up this whole thing. And I don't care if you're a lesbian, caballero, ballroom dancer. What you do in your spare time is up to you, baby. I prefer women, not men. You want to jump up with little boys? Knock yourself. But don't expect me to feel sorry for you. That's ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. Slavery has been around for thousands of years. There's evidences of in North Africa, they had white people as slaves, the blacks did. So when you say you're victims, that bugs me. And I can understand it. What happened to the guy, that fire and all that stuff, Rodney, he was a drug dealer. He died or something, and then everybody, they picked on him because he's black. No, he was a drug dealer. But they want to change the story, change the narrative. Look, just look at the facts, know the truth. That's like I was saying, this guy Marco Rubio, he's Secretary of State. I don't know, I have no proof on it, but I think it cost $100 million to become Secretary of State. He had to donate to Trump's campaign. But I learned that game from my poor dad and my rich dad. That's the real game. In a little while, we'll go out and I'll show you how I use it in real estate. But it all begins with you saying to yourself, I can't afford it. That's self-deprecating. That's putting yourself down. Never say I can't afford it or I can't do that. That makes you a poor, incompetent person. There's nothing wrong with asking for help and things like this, but don't expect a handout. You can expect a hand up, not a hand out. It's a big difference here. And that's what I'm saying. Another thing that poor people do is they listen to poor people, poor financial planners. Financial planners have their place in the world. But when they tell you something is safe, like, the 60-40, 60% equity, 40% bonds, because bonds are safe, that is a lie. You got to be really stupid to believe that. That's why I'd rather have Bitcoin than a bond. But anyway, other thing is that people say, live below your means. Oh, who wants to do that? Oh, that's exciting. I can live in a nice house or I can live in a slum. No, I think I like the slum a lot better. And I've been to slums, they're not that bad. I've been to the slums of Mumbai. That's pretty exciting. You meet some interesting people in the slums, so I got no problem with it. But when you constantly say, live below your means, that means my means aren't very high. So what I do instead is to live below my means. I want to expand my means. So if you see an income statement, on the balance sheet, you have assets and liabilities. If I want to increase my means, I buy an asset. So I'll go buy, like when Kim and I needed some extra money, I found a mini storage, you rent stalls, and I negotiated for a nothing down deal. And that mini storage put like $25,000 a month in our pockets. But again, it goes back to my skills. I could negotiate. I understood real estate. I took real estate thing. So we had $25,000 a month coming in. That's not a lot of money, but that's about $250,000 a year in US dollars. That's not bad, But you do that every other month. That's a lot of money. So the reason I was talking about it again is the trap is people work for this when you want cash flow coming. And so I'm buying assets, acquiring assets to expand my means so I have more cash coming in. So I was laughing with my friend, we can never spend the amount of money we have. I said, no, we make so much money, but we're going to give it all back in our funds and our foundations and all that. But it's just a game. We acquire assets and poor middle class work for those crap. Assets throw this cash flow off and poor middle class work for and save this year. That's why they're poor. Every year, every month, increase your cash flow. I'm at the point right now where I can't. Money just keeps piling up. I just give it to charities and things like that. But because I never say live below my means. Anybody tell you that, you have my problem to kick them. Okay, thank you.